All right, we're live.
We're live.
The music.
I'm just gonna laugh throughout our whole theme song after what was said in the top line.
Zeus's penis juice.
That's a new band name right there.
Squeeze.
Zeus's penis juice.
Squeeze. Squeeze. Zeus's penis juice.
The nectar of the gods.
Every flavor of Mountain Dew is just the sweat that runs down Ultimate Warrior's face. The different colors all mixed into one.
I think that's much better. That's way better.
I like to think that Code Red is what's left of Kevin Thorne's ring gear.
For all of you out there that remember Kevin Thorne.
He's a good dude, man.
Charlie reaching deep.
Yeah, some vampires are, Charlie. Just because he's a vampire doesn't mean he's a good dude. He's not a good dude, okay?
I said he's a good dude. Welcome, everyone, to Burritos and Bodyslams. This is our monthly-ish show with no consistent schedule because, you know, we don't run that way. And that's just... Now I've learned to accept it.
Charlie just has to deal with it.
I do.
Guys, can we record now? Charlie, I can't. How about next week? Charlie, we're just... But guys, I'm hosting a podcast.
It's true. It's true. Well, and it God damn it, Andy. Everyone, this is our monthly show where we talk burritos, where we talk body slams, where we talk all things food, professional wrestling, male mental health, and we combine a little bit of movie fun to go along with it. I don't think that I will ever have a consistent intro because we only do this once a month. So.
The show isn't consistent. We don't need a consistent intro.
It's really true. It's really true. And the only person watching right now is Brian Mensing. So
and whatnot.
And whatnot.
He's part of the family, guys. Come on.
Part of the family. That's an inside joke that nobody... If we ever get an outside watcher or listener, like, they're not going to understand why we're making fun of Brian right now.
If there's ever an audience for this show...
Wait, there isn't an audience for this show?
Of course there is. There are 50 million people that listen to this show.
The only people who listen to this show are on this show.
And I only listen to make sure it doesn't sound like shit. So
right, exactly.
Yeah, Casey's download doesn't count.
No.
Anyway, how are you two gentlemen? How is everybody doing? Zeus's penis aside, or tucked, whatever we want to say right now. How's everybody doing?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Casey.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Besides, I don't know how Zeus's penis got into this conversation. We may talk Hercules later, is what I'm assuming, because of what comes out of Zeus's penis. I don't know. I hope so. I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Yeah. I'm doing okay. Doing okay. I don't know where the Zeus's penis thing came from. I think it's just, if you're going to talk about the joy that is Mountain Dew, why not just go all out with it? And I think getting a little R-rated here is the way to do that.
So are we talking like Zeus, like God Zeus, or like famed professional wrestler Zeus?
Famed professional wrestler Zeus.
See, I was thinking we were talking about, lightning bolt Zeus, but no, I guess not.
Famed
Zeus,
professional
Hercules,
wrestler.
Hernandez,
Debo.
Debo.
Yep, that's how I know him, as Zeus and as Debo.
Yeah.
And then the guy who threw the switch in Dark Knight. That's all I remember from him.
Right.
Before we go on to some of our topics, though, we need to wish a belated birthday to Mr. Andy Heller.
What?
Andy Heller You turned a year older this last Sunday.
27 years old, Andy. That's
27 years old again.
Yeah, I'm just a wee pup now.
You are.
Just a young lad. Barely know anything about the world. I like that you guys both took a drink at the same time. As if I said something that you were like, oh, whenever Andy says this,
Andy drinking game every time he says lad.
Every time that Ryan Stoik calls Andy Andrew.
Andrew, yep. I'd be drunk every single day of my life.
Yep, you would. You would. You would. Young Andrew is what he calls him.
Good stuff.
How was your birthday, Andy? Seriously, how was everything on Sunday and over the weekend?
It was nice. It was nice. All I wanted for my birthday was a day to just kind of relax. And I got that. It was nice too. Sam got me a giant donut and a giant coffee mug with that didn't really have anything in it, but she put some bags of coffee and some coffee creamer in it so that I had coffee as a gift. Then we took some pictures because I'm giant, and to have a giant coffee mug and a giant donut, that's just comedy gold right there. But yeah,
what's the joke from SpongeBob? Just like, this is a deep thirst, or whatever it is.
So yeah, I mean, it was just a really nice day. We just hung out, relaxed. I got to watch. I watched Coming to America, and I followed that up with Coming to America. Then because they know how to name their sequels,
it was just sitting there for them, Andy. The 2 is already in the title. Come on,
I know, but I liked it. I know doesn't seem to be the consensus, but I thought it was very funny, very enjoyable. And then after that, I followed it up with what I'm gonna say right now. Is definitely on my best of the year movies list. I watched the 40-year-old version, not virgin version, which is about a black playwright who she's about to turn 40, and she's kind of looking at her life, and she decides that since she can't get the jobs that she wants and is constantly being disrespected, that she decides to turn her stories into hip hop. And it is fucking awesome. Like, it is just a really, really good movie. Funny, kind of pulls on your heartstrings a little bit and talks about, what it feels like to be an artist and not be recognized for your skill. And the only way that you can really get success is to kind of sell out a little bit, and kind of the struggle that an artist goes with to get that. So I love that. I'm going to write my review for that sometime this week. But yeah, it was just a nice, relaxed weekend, and that's what I wanted. I took Monday off as well, just to kind of not go to work. And yeah, it was everything I wanted it to be.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Where is the 40-year-old version?
You can find the 40-year-old version currently streaming on Netflix. It is a Netflix original, and it is fantastic. It got a lot of indie spirit buzz. I don't think it garnered as many nominations as it probably should have, just because when you're dealing with the Independent Spirit Awards, there are a lot of independent films that actually kind of break out and become super huge. And even though they are still gaining traction and attention, they're still indies. So they're kind of the beasts to beat. But I think the 40-year-old version is a fantastic film that's totally worthy of anyone's time.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, happy birthday from me and Casey. At least there was when we were originally going to record on Thursday, and we had some stuff come up. There was a plan for me to come show up at your house with a cake.
Oh,
and I'm not saying that won't happen. It just won't happen on your birthday now.
That's okay.
So someday I'll just show up. I'll just be sitting on your doorstep. Where were you? Who were you? And just open cake, and Sam won't know who I am. So.
Yeah. She'll be like, why is there someone at our door? Be like, he's not expecting to come in, is he? I'm like, no, I'll go out there.
Andy, there's a short bald man with a birthday cake outside. Do you know anything about this?
Did I ever tell you, Charlie, that you almost ruined my Christmas at one point? Because Sam saw you at the movie theater.
Yes, you did tell me this.
Okay. Yeah, and she was there buying a gift card as a Christmas present from her parents. And you messaged me, "Hey, I saw your car at the movie theater." And I was like, "Oh, so there's another Chevy Malibu Max? That's cool." I had no idea. Just completely duh. Well, Sam has the fat dude bumper sticker, and that's what you saw. I don't drive that car. Yeah. So I was like, "What? Chevy Malibu? That's cool."
Yeah, I remember that too, because I felt really bad afterward. Because you told me this after Christmas, and I was like, shit. I'm never going to tell anybody that I saw them in public again.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank God for masks. Thank you, COVID.
She's like, when my birthday came around, she's like, "You better tell Charlie not to ruin your birthday."
Damn it, I should have showed up with that cake.
I know, right?
It was going to be shaped like Andre the Giant.
Oh, man.
And everything.
This is the best cake ever.
Happy birthday, Andrew.
Happy birthday.
I'll put it up for you.
Before we move on, can I give since we're throwing out shout outs to each other, can I throw out a shout out to Charlie Eccles returning to the squared circle?
Yeah, Charlie.
First time in a year, I do believe.
I did one show mid COVID, and I was like, I don't think I can do this again until it's safe. And it had been about 9 months, and it was about 3 months before that. So I did one show in a year, and yeah, I finally got to do a show this weekend. I've got a few in April. I'm booked in Duluth, Minnesota later this year to do some commentary. There's a new promotion that's going to be starting up there, and they had called me up to lead their commentary team, which was a huge honor. So keep your eyes out for Discover Pro Wrestling. I think that's going to be a blast. We've got 2 shows coming up later in the year. I don't think that they've actually announced the dates, but I know the dates. And I think I'm going to do some extra stuff for those guys. I'm hoping to get some more bookings around the country. So around at least the Midwest. Willing to travel is what I'm saying. So,
Wrestling Voice 1, folks. Wrestling Voice 1.
This is how I sound. Just kidding. But I'll plug my stuff later. But I appreciate you saying that, Casey. I really do. And then I got to be on Backlot as well this month, so I was pretty excited about that. All month, yeah. So that was a good time. I'm pretty excited. And Casey, since we're giving shout outs to everyone, you got yourself a new gig.
What's that? A gig? Oh yeah. I was like, what are you talking about?
What do I have going on? I don't.
I have nothing.
I got fired.
Actually,
already.
I didn't tell you guys this. I actually had to decline the gig.
Oh no!
Because yeah.
Way to go, Charlie.
Way to just bring that. No, it's a good thing.
It's Christmas all over again.
Just ruining everything, Charlie.
I ruined
everything.
So I was going to go into take a part-time gig at a radio station here, but it was just I'm like, I'm booked up with doing podcasts and trying to do stuff at my house. We had our house was like on fire this last month because of so many things going wrong.
Oh, so, I thought you were saying like, literally. I was like, What the fuck, man?
Just about. I mean, we had multiple things go on in our house this month, so we were trying to catch up on that, and it wasn't the right time to jump into another gig. And I told the gentleman who was going to hire me that, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, I understand. Good thing you reached out now before we started anything." He's like, "Whenever you're ready to do something, though, let me know because you're ready to get into broadcasting." I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome! Like that is the nicest." You're not getting the job message I've ever had, and it was really awesome. But yeah, it did make me feel it was a feel good moment, and yeah, unfortunately I did have to decline it, but I mean that gives me more time to focus on doing random nonsense with you two weirdos online, so that's cool with me. And it gives me more time. What's that?
Do you want to plug the live show that we have for Backlot coming up? Because I believe all three of us are on it.
Yes, we are. I don't. What's the dates? Do you guys know?
The 27th at 7 p.m.
I was like, it's the last Saturday of March. 27th, 7 p.m. We are going to be doing another Backlot 605 live countdown. The top 20 comedies of the 1990s. So I will be on that panel alongside Mr. Andy Heller, Blake Ginneth, and Sam Lenz. So we're going to have two gentlemen who went to high school during the 90s and two others that were 4 years old in the 90s. So we have an awesome group. And
time for the Tom and Jerry animated movie and Space Jam to make the list.
Don't count out Space Jam there, Andy. And Mr. Charlie Eccles. Mr. Charlie Eccles will be hosting that once again.
I will be hosting that. I'm excited.
Charlie, do you have so this will probably be the only time we talk on a microphone before then. What is like 2 or 3 movies you want to see on that list?
Oh, you guys, no, I've heard about the fights you're having with this.
What fights? There are no fights. We are a peaceful bunch of people.
Just the fact that Baby's Day Out will probably make the list. That's all we're saying.
Damn it, Sam. I have one comedy from the 90s that I really hope makes the list. And it's not, I know that you guys have the rule of like only one, like if it's an Adam Sandler movie, we can only have 2 of them. Mm-hmm. 2 of them on, yeah. But if Clueless doesn't make the list for top 20 of the 90s, I might be upset.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, I'll leave that up. I'll leave that up to the other 3 guys to decide if they want it on or not.
Okay. If Clueless doesn't make it, there are a few others that I would like to see, but if they don't, but I think Clueless might be the top one. But that's my opinion.
This is a list where my job will probably be the grenade. I'm going to blow up your motherfucker list.
That's awesome. That's coming up later this month. Make sure to follow Backlot 605 so you can watch that. It'll be live on Facebook and YouTube, or just Facebook?
Yeah, both.
Both? Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I also realized we say the F word on that.
I also realized we haven't officially announced that yet, so this is a breaking news on the show too. I forgot we didn't announce it yet, but yeah, the announcement will be coming soon. But no one listens to the show anyway, besides Brian, and he already knows.
I listen. God damn it!
And you already knew.
I already knew. I had to announce it for you.
Yes, that's your job. That is your job, Charlie, to announce things.
It's like working for Nick Dinsmore. God damn it! Just kidding. I love Nick. Actually, I had a blast because this last weekend I couldn't. So what happened? I was trying to tear apart my house to find my headsets that I used to use for recording commentary. Could not find them to save my life. So I had to run and get some new ones. But I just used my phone to record. And hello?
Hello? Are you recording? Hello?
This motherfucker right here.
Oh,
And he's stuck in here for a little while. He can't go anywhere for a little bit. So this will be how it goes. Hello? Hello? Okay. Mom? That's the other one. Mom?
Yeah, that one's definitely saying hello. Like, that sounds like a very clear hello.
Yep.
But so I couldn't find my headsets. Tore apart my house. I used to just record on my phone and then just drop everything into a Google Drive for Nick to put onto the video. And I couldn't find the headsets, couldn't find the splitter. So I go and I get new headsets, but they're completely out of splitters. So I get there and I'm like, okay, like I really wanted, because Nick was going to do commentary with me, and because he's been trying to transition into that a little bit more. And I told him, I was like, I don't have a splitter, so we'll have to do that at the next show. And which is fine. So Nick just sat next to me and made wise ass comments about everybody's wrestling matches. Just to get me to laugh the whole time. So another big story from this last weekend. So this is independent wrestling. For those of you who don't know, Midwest All Pro is primarily made up of students who are learning from Nick Eugene Dinsmore. We have a new guy who has done a few things, but hasn't actually had a match yet. So we made him the referee this last weekend. Had it never given him any referee training. And he did great, by the way.
Good.
He did
good.
Fantastic. But at one point, Nick looked at me because he didn't know how to. Because when you slap the mat, you got to slap with your forearm. Otherwise, you're just going to break your wrist.
Right.
And Nick looks at me and oh, guy's going to break his wrist. Hit with your forearm. And he's like 4 feet away from him. It was pretty great, but I missed those guys. I got to go up there with Brandon Nitro, who has been there. He started just a couple of months before I did. We've become fast friends, have been for a while at this point. It was fun to just share a car with Nitro. And Nitro wrestled 4 matches because we had 7 people, which is awesome. But it was also like a great reminder. I think I texted you guys, like I got to help a little bit with the card. I was like, as we were kind of talking about it, it was just a reminder of like, oh yeah, I'm actually like good at this. Like I'm confident when I'm there. So it was just a good confidence booster to be there. Even I wasn't really lacking in confidence just because things have been going okay with the new job and everything like that. So it was a very good reminder of like, I'm actually like astute within the world of professional wrestling at this point. Sure. So it was a good feeling. It was a really good feeling to be there. We had a hometown kid that we didn't tell him he was going to win until we got to the Battle Royal, and there were 3 people left. He was one of the 3, and the 2 guys left over looked at him and they're like, "Oh, we're going to put you over, bud." And while they were in the ring, so that was really cool. It was a feel good moment, and like he came back into the locker room just ear to ear, face all red, just amped up. I'm sure he didn't sleep a wink on Saturday, so it was cool to give him that moment and to just be a part of that, because those smaller shows that you do when you only have like 50 people.
Sure.
I mean, you're just there to entertain those 50 people. You're not there to do anything long term. And
right.
That it was a cool reminder that we were there to just make a few people happy that day. So it was cool.
Yeah.
It was a fun experience, but I'm gonna count that as my male mental health check. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm a little tired today, but it's just been a long couple of days at work, working hard, so that's a good thing. But before we check in with the 2 of you guys, make sure if you are struggling with your mental health, NAMI.org. Do not be afraid to reach out. That this is one thing that the podcast here has really been founded on. We want to, before we get into wrestling, we want to make sure we try to shed those layers of talking about male mental health and how everybody's doing, because it's okay to talk about it. If you're a man, woman, if you're struggling, we just want to make sure that we do a check-in with each other, and that you do the same with your friends and family. So NAMI.org. Looks like we're right on the screen. Awesome. Perfect. Who did we start with last week? Or last month? Did we start with Casey? Did we start with Andy? Who wants to start?
I don't remember what I had for breakfast. I don't know who started. I can start since I opened my mouth. Like I said, aside from my house burning down, pretty much everything that could go wrong in our house went wrong in the last month. We had our pipes freeze in our house. A week later, our heat went out. A week after that, our fridge went out. 2 days after that, my fiance's car battery went out. So it was just kept hitting us over and over. But we are on the other half of that, thankfully. And all that's behind us. We have a new, we had to put a new furnace in, had to get a new fridge, had to get a new battery for the car. So, everything like that. But it's all taken care of, which is all I care about. And as long as that's done and taken care of. So, the last month was a huge struggle on both myself and my fiance's, mental health and our well-being. We just been trying to look in the positives every time. And every time we did, it was just, we found people, we could count on. Like my parents helped out a bunch, and her dad helped out a bunch. And so that's always great to have a support to help us out during times like that. But that's part of life, I guess, and part of owning a house too. For us, this is the first house we've ever owned. So to have things like that pile up, it sucks, but it's like, well, we're on the other half of that. We're past it. We can learn from it, and now we're on to what we can continue to do to better our house and our own well-being after that. So that's kind of what we're trying to focus on here. And one thing that we like to do is just, after both of us get off work, we like to just sit down, eat supper together, and watch cartoons. Like that's awesome. Our calm, our like, okay, we're fine. So we've been watching like King of the Hill and Close Enough on HBO Max, which is a great show. And that's what we like to do. Just sit at home, watch cartoons, and just mellow out. And that's our calm at our house.
Well, and I didn't realize how I'm going to use the word sadistic Kayla was when you had texted me and said that she wanted to watch Revolution because there was a barbed wire death match.
Give me guys throw barbed wire and fire at each other. Yeah. She says she doesn't care for wrestling, but she'll watch it if it's on. But if I ask her what kind of wrestling she wants to watch, it's ECW, and that's it.
God. Dang.
Yep.
Yeah. She's like, "Why? Let me watch two grown men beat the snot out of each other with a crimson mask."
So, just out of curiosity, have you shown her Masato Tanaka versus Mike Awesome from ECW's the homecoming show thing that they One Night Stand?
Yeah, we've watched One Night Stand. I think I probably made her watch it a couple times, actually.
Okay.
I love that pay-per-view. Yeah, she's watched that a couple times. I think the one that got her to pop is during the main event of the first One Night Stand. It's the Dudley Boys versus Dreamer and Sandman, and they pull out a cheese grater and run it across.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Thanks.
That got us both to pop. Yeah. I used to own. That was one of the few WWE DVDs that I owned, was One Night Stand, and my parents let me watch that at, when was that? 05?
Yeah.
So I was like 11 years old, 12 years old, maybe. Like, yeah, you can watch this. When
that came out, yeah, and I always took the summers to go work at a summer camp when I was in high school, and so I came home the following Saturday, and I rented like the replay of it, and my dad came back and was like, "Hey, you come home for one day and this is what you're doing?"
Priorities.
Yes,
Yep.
Dad.
Get out of my room. But that, I was over at your place to record those intros, and you had kind of had told me that you guys had to go to Kayla's dad's to shower and everything like that. Man, like, I feel for you, and if you guys were struggling at all mentally during that time, it is completely justified.
Yeah, we were. But yeah, luckily we're on the other half of that, and I mean, both of us, the whole time we're like, well, let's just look on the positives and have positive thoughts. What's going good yet? And that's what we always like to focus on. And it was like, yeah, you know what? Our heat might not work, and we might not be able to shower at home, but we still have a roof over our head. Our pets that greet us when we come home, like that's the stuff that we just it's like, yeah, we still have that every night.
And King of the Hill's not going anywhere.
Oh, King of the Hill is the best. The whole time, one thing I did want to have on the show, was impressions, and I always try to do a Hank Hill, and I cannot get a Hank Hill done, but I can get a Dale. Like, I can get a Dale, but I cannot get a Hank Hill. Rusty Shackleford.
Damn it, Bobby.
Oh, that was a good. It was a good Hank Hill.
Damn it, Bobby.
Damn it, Bobby. That more
propane.
And what?
That just sounded like a mixtape from. Damn it, Bobby.
Damn it, Bobby. What?
Damn it, Bobby. So you'll enjoy this. My buddy Jeff, who wrestled up at MAP for a long time, is now down at Reality of Wrestling, Booker T's school. He wrestles as Dirty Jeff, and one of his signature moves is pocket sand.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
It's great. The first time he did it, I was on commentary the first time he did it, and I just heard him go, "Pocket sand!" really loud. And I just about died. I was I was on commentary, and I couldn't even call it. I was like, and I'm usually pretty professional, but I just put the. You got to be kidding me right now, Jeff. Which is fun. Jeff was one of the guys that I always text during pay-per-views because we just make wise-ass remarks throughout it. But, yeah, he's one of those guys that I text during that. So I hope one day to see Jeff on a bigger stage. But, Andy, how the hell are you?
I am doing well. I am doing very well. Life is pretty good right now. I think one of the big factors that's kind of put a positive take on my mental health currently is that on Saturday I was able to get my first dose of the Pfizer vaccine. COVID has really done a number on me. Because I am one of those people who is super concerned about it. I don't want to go out, don't want to get sick, don't want anyone close to me to get sick. It's something that has really weighed on me. And I've kind of changed a lot of things that I would usually do because of that. But now that I've had my first dose of the vaccine and I'm already scheduled, like you're supposed to get your second dose, I am optimistic. This does not change the fact that I will, when I go out in public, I will still wear a mask. I will still socially distance. I will still do all of that stuff. But for me, this is the first step in trying to return to some sense of normalcy. And I am very, very happy that I was able to take it. And it really has. When I was going through the line, first off, the process is so fast. Like, it was crazy how quick everything happened. It's like you go in, you check in with one person, they pass you to another person who passes you to another person. Then you go sit in the chair, take a shot, and then go sit down for 15 minutes. And I was like, I just got here. Why? How'd this go so fast? But it was like I sat in the chair and they ask a couple of questions and like, can you tell us your birthday? And I'm like, yeah, my birthday. And they go, oh, your birthday's tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, look at that. You're getting a shot. And I'm like, yeah, this is the best birthday present ever. Because for me, like, this is a way to kind of get my life back to normal again. So, yeah, that the positivity that I feel about that and getting that taken care of and the hope of good things to come has really helped put me in a bright, optimistic mood. I think a lot of stuff kind of involving this birthday has really helped my mental health.
Good for you, man.
There are the downsides. Like it's when I think about how close now I am to 50, and if I were to turn 50 tomorrow, like this guy right here turns 50 tomorrow, this guy is not ready to turn 50 years old. But I do have 10 years to get there. This guy at 40, I'm 40. And I'm like, I feel mentally like I'm, I don't know, still pretty young at heart. My body feels 40. What? But everything else, like I feel good, and it's been the everything around the birthday has been really nice. It was, Facebook is Facebook. It's social media. You can't really put a lot of stock in it, but there are some things that are really kind of like, oh, well, that's nice. Like just it's always nice to get the birthday greetings and stuff on Facebook. I know that it's not everybody really cares. They just kind of see the birthday thing and they're like, oh, happy birthday, period, and then send. And it's like, well, I mean, at least they put in the thought.
HBD.
Right, HBD. Like, cool or okay,
Thanks. Don't you love when you get a birthday, message from someone you've never talked to like in years? Like,
how do we know each other?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that was nice. So I'm kind of filled with a spout of optimism these days over everything. So I've been in a pretty good place. I think like when I come off as sad, it's mostly because I'm tired. and like, as I told you guys that I'm in the market for a new office chair, and I have to sit with my butt center in the chair, and then my weight balances between my butt and my legs to kind of make sure I don't veer off one way and completely destroy the chair. And so right now I'm sitting here talking and I'm like, I gotta stand up in a minute. Oh my God. Like my knees are on fire. And so probably emotionally the pain from my knees crawls up into my heart and into my brain. And I'm like, I'm very sad about this pain that I'm feeling. But other than that, like I said, I'm in good spirits right now. My male mental health is positive. So that's awesome, where I'm at.
We've been joking about like the power of positivity, the old New Day thing, but it's like it's so true though. It's like true. It is true. Like even like just like the New Day is just like you do feel that they feel very happy and cheerful all the time. It's like I just need that sometimes in my life. Like
Right. Well, and I text you guys because on Sunday my wife was actually out of town Saturday night after I got back from the show, so I just went to bed. When I got home and I woke up and I was like, oh, like I'm gonna watch that Big E documentary since we're not gonna share the TV right now, and like I sent you guys a message because I was just bawling at the end of it. But it was awesome. Now, before we start talking and transitioning into wrestling, we have one other big thing that we always cover on here, and that is our burritos.
Oh yeah, we talk about burritos on this, don't we?
We do talk about burritos on this podcast.
It's not just a clever name after me.
It's derivative.
Is this tacos and takedowns now, or what?
Tacos and
takedowns, pizza and pile drivers, chimichangas and choke slams. Everything we got.
We can think of more, I'm sure.
I'm sure we could. But I had today. I decided I was getting my favorite burrito in town, which is the chorizo breakfast burrito from Gilberto's, and I wolfed that motherfucker down. Because I have no idea. I got home and I've like prepped my body for it. I had a late breakfast, knowing I was going to have that burrito for supper, and I waited that full 8 hours before I ate. Like, I had breakfast at like 10 while I was in the office, and then boys, there's just something about a breakfast burrito in the evening. You have no idea.
The thing about the delicious, I mean, because that burrito is superb. Like, that is a fantastic burrito. But I don't eat pork anymore, so I don't get to enjoy that burrito. They have
two for us.
Yeah, they have Morningstar makes a meatless chorizo, which I can make my own breakfast burrito, so that's awesome. But I will say that when you have that burrito, the first part of it is eating the burrito. The second part is that last little cup of tortilla that you have left is filled with chorizo grease. So it's like, hold on. Maybe you'll still have a potato or some egg
the blood
in there.
Of Christ.
That's your burrito
communion we get in my house anyway. But boys, I got chips and queso with it too, and they made the chips fresh for me. I was spoiled tonight.
Yeah.
I can eat that burrito maybe like once a quarter, because I know tomorrow I'm gonna be like, shouldn't eat that burrito.
Yeah. Next doctor visit, your cholesterol level's high. Gonna have to go on some blood thinners.
Yeah, like, I know I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and be like, man, maybe should I drink some more water.
You'll have food nightmares.
It's just gonna be that cup, but it's gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Charlie's just drowning in the chorizo juice.
But instead of it being a nightmare, I'm just gonna realize where I am, and then you're gonna hear, "It's a beautiful morning." It's gonna be like 9 Charlies synchronized swimming in the chorizo juice. But anyway,
that's good.
Burritos. Who else had a burrito sometime either today or this week?
I did. I had a burrito that I've actually already talked about on the show for my birthday dinner. I had a Jackie's wet shrimp burrito. My girlfriend bought me dinner, and that was what I chose for my birthday dinner. And as always, I love that burrito. Like, it is just, I don't know what Jackie's does with their shrimp, but man, whoever's cooking there knows exactly how to season and grill a shrimp to perfection. And it was delicious. It hits on a whole different level. So that will always be my number one burrito, because man, oh man, it is delicious.
Oh God. And that's the second time we've talked about that burrito, and like, I just ate 40 pounds of chorizo.
Gotta go get one.
But I'm like, now every time you mention that Jackie's wet shrimp burrito, I'm like, I'm gonna get that tonight. So
yep,
I don't
put
know.
it on your list.
Well, I mean, I only have one heart, so
might as well use it.
Yeah. Kidding.
I got a drawer full of heart meds, Charlie. I can loan you one.
I'm going to get the COVID vaccine and a 3D printed heart. That's
Go
what
get yourself a
I
Jackie's wet shrimp burrito, and I'll give you a half a tab of Metropolol.
Oh, man. All right. Casey, you did say that you had a burrito, right?
I had a burrito. Yeah. I don't know. Whenever, a week ago. Sure. The closest place to get a burrito near my work is Taco John. So it was like one day I brought lunch and it was like ramen, I think. And I'm like, nah, I don't want ramen today. I want a burrito. So I went in and drove to Taco John's, got the queso chicken boss burrito. They're not bad. I mean, for Taco John's burritos, you can do worse. They load it a little too heavy.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. But I mean, the boss burritos are better than just the regular Taco John's burritos. So, I mean, they're good enough. You know what you're expecting when you go to Taco John's, the greatest Mexican restaurant in all of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Right behind Jackie's, Gilberto's, Puerto Vallarta, and Taco Bell.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up on Taco John, so I ate that way too much as a kid and was sick of it for a long time, and now I'm finally coming back to it. And I don't know, what do you guys like the Olays there? I can barely do the Olays anymore when I eat Taco John's.
I do. I got to get it with sour cream though. Like if on their own, they just I don't know. They're on their own. They're boring.
Yeah.
But if you dip them in sour cream, yeah, I really like them.
I used to do the cheese dip, but I'm like, even now I can barely finish a potato Olay.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only Midwesterner who is like, I can go without a potato Olay.
Sure.
I think,
sure.
Yeah, I think it's because I eat like 3 of them and I'm like, I'm full.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I just can't, like, I don't know. They don't make me feel great. And I try to listen to my body.
Gotta be in the mood for it.
Yeah. I try to listen to my body when it comes to that. But, you know, then I ate a 40-pound chorizo breakfast burrito for supper. So, you know.
You won't be in the mood for it for a while.
Yeah. I mean, my
Actually,
body is
you know what? Save that chorizo juice cup and dip your Olays in that.
Ooh.
Oh man, that gave me some acid reflux. Just thinking about it, I'm like,
I should do that next time I go to Gilberto's, because the Taco John's is literally on the same corner of my Gilberto's, so I should run through the drive-through and get some Olays and dip some Olays in that juice after.
Oh man, have you had the chorizo breakfast burrito over there, Casey?
I've never had it. I'm excited to try it now.
Yeah, like, it's hard for me to go to a different one.
Prep yourself by not eating it all the day before, and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. It's like going to the Brazilian grill. You can't eat all day until you have it. Yeah. Like, or most of the day, anyway. But, all right. Burritos, check. Mental health, check. And let's talk some wrestling, boys. I got to be at wrestling this last Saturday. I was really excited about that. I'm happy to be back. But then Sunday, AEW had their pay-per-view Revolution. And prior to this, we've had one pay-per-view since. We had the Elimination Chamber with the WWE as well. So since the last time we talked, I believe so. Right? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Because we talked just after the Rumble. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what have you guys been watching? What have you been feeling nostalgic for wrestling recently? What are you feeling?
I have very little to contribute to this conversation, so I'll talk first. My wrestling highlights these days come from Bleacher Report. I have not really watched anything in a little bit, but I do listen to Conrad Thompson's podcasts. So I'll get a nice little history lesson in the meantime.
Question: have you called Conrad Thompson for your realtor needs?
I have not, but he can save you a house payment for a little while if you want to. I'm doing great, Charlie. How are you?
Hey, this is Conrad Thompson. I'm here to buy your house in Las Vegas.
With the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone. What's going on, man? How are you? That'll be the new intro to Fat Dude Dick Flicks podcast. We'll do away with the old oh gosh, what's his name? I won't do that anymore. Yeah, I won't do the Colt Cabana intro anymore. I'll give that back, and then I'll just do, I am the voice of your childhood, fat dude Andy Heller. What's going on, everybody? How are you?
He is super soothing for a wrestling podcaster, which is really funny.
The Conrad Thompson podcasts are my nighttime listen. Like when I'm laying down to go to bed, I'll put a Conrad Thompson podcast on, and they're usually pretty good until Eric Bischoff gets abrasive. Oh, that fat fucking Vince Russo. Fuck him. Then it's like, this is not going to help me sleep.
Yep. Have you ever listened to 83 Weeks?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't about Eric Bischoff.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. I forget that. I always assume that he has multiple with Eric Bischoff at this point. But
sure.
So I have not listened to an episode of 83 Weeks since I think like the 4th or 5th episode, because at one point Conrad and Eric Bischoff are just yelling at each other at the top of their lungs. Like, this isn't like an argument like I keep interrupting you. Like, Conrad's literally going from, hey, I'm Conrad Thompson. How are you? To, you gotta be fucking kidding me! Eric Bischoff! And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm trying to work, Conrad.
Yeah, it becomes a fuck you, Eric. That's your job. That's what we're doing. We're doing a podcast. You would think you fucking talk about something on the podcast. Yeah. Yep. But other than that, I don't know much about wrestling right now. No. I've listened to some of the highlights, kind of the I guess punditism of wrestling afterwards, and the discussion over the finish of the Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley match, and how
I think we have to bring up.
How it ended with a whimper instead of a bang.
It ended with Gilberg's entrance.
Actually, when those went off, I'm like, oh, Christian actually isn't the one they signed. It's Goldberg.
Right. It was.
Yeah.
But
so I'm mostly excited to hear what you guys have to say about everything.
Okay. Casey, should we just get into that?
Let's start there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So for those who didn't watch, please go watch. But the barbed wire death match was going off swimmingly. Was looking very cool, very violent. They were actually telling a story within it. It was really good. And then, so the whole premise of an exploding barbed wire death match is that the ring is going to explode at the end of the match. Now, they're going to save this, but so what happened was they did a 1-minute countdown. Eddie Kingston came out to save Jon Moxley and then just covered him. And then there was literally like a few sparkles and like a small poof of smoke. And then Eddie Kingston is trying to save it. He's like, I'm sure
he died in the ring.
Yeah. Eddie was probably like, I don't know what to do. Like, because Eddie had his face down and he probably didn't see what was actually happening. He probably just heard it. And then the crowd starts, as it's going off the air, the crowd is chanting, bullshit, bullshit. And there's a very limited amount of people there, and they were audibly chanting bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, then Jon Moxley gets in the ring. I don't know. Did you see this, Case?
After, yeah.
So after it went off the air, because the whole premise of the story, for storyline purposes, is that Kenny Omega was the one who built the ring, or he hired the people to build the ring. So Moxley grabs the mic and he says, Kenny Omega's one tough son of a bitch, but he can't build an exploding ring worth of shit. And so I think they might save it there, which is good. And good on Mox for having the wherewithal for that, because Eddie Kingston is a veteran of this business, and he didn't have the wherewithal for that either. So
I felt bad for him, though.
For
Like,
Eddie?
He's still trying to sell what was supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's just laying there like he's dead. It's like, dude, just get up. Like,
You're fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, I hope they explain that away. Like, oh, he had a heart attack. Well, because this, he was so scared his friend was going to die. So, like, there are ways you can work around this, but still, that is a huge botch to end a pay-per-view. Like, the pay-per-view was really good. It was a lot of fun before that, and the match was really great, and probably had the best finish you probably could have, and was setting up for. I think we discussed this on our own. Like, Moxley's going to get written off because his wife's about to have a baby. So he was going to get written off this way by dying in the ring. Wrestling deaths, it's our jam. But just
it was going to be another wrestling murder, and that would be like the fourth one in 2021. Yeah. It's only March.
Yeah. But then it just went out with a fizzle. I didn't understand that the ring was still going to explode after the match had ended. Like, all of a sudden they're like, well, we still have a 5-minute countdown before the ring explodes. Like, but the match is over. Like, why is it still going to explode?
Right. Well, there should have been a timer going the whole time. And that was one thing that wasn't really explained. It sounds like it wasn't really explained to the commentators either. Because at one point there was a halftime or a halfway point warning that went off, and the commentators were like, "Oh, we don't know how much time we have left," and it was like,
"Come on, Tony Schiavone, come on!"
Like, it's a buzzer, back on.
I mean, between Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross, I mean, you guys know to get the details.
Yeah,
like I'm going to give Excalibur and Don Callis.
Yeah,
like. Don Callis built the fucking ring. He should have known. But
JR sounded like he smoked 18 packs of cigarettes before he went on commentary that night. His voice was just out.
It was, I think he must have gotten sick, because I was wondering the same thing, because he let Tony and Excalibur kind of lead the way on everything, which was great, because I think very highly of Excalibur as a commentator.
That was my first time hearing him on commentary. I thought he was great.
Yeah, he is. He's really great. He was one of the commentators who was at All In, and he was a guy who really started at PWG and everything like that. He's been around the block, and he's a former wrestler, so he's got that credibility there as well. But then. And Tony Schiavone is, in my opinion, at this point, the best commentator in professional wrestling. I think he is, anyway.
I think it's awesome to hear like the voice of WCW and the voice of WWF now on the same booth together. I'm like, that's awesome, and those two together are two of the best ever. And Tony is just incredible still to this day.
Still,
yeah. I have like two other points I want to bring up on this pay-per-view. The ladder match that they did, which was not Money in the Bank ladder match. I like that the brass ring looked like the ring from Sonic. It looked like they were all trying to grab I'm still trying to figure out what Cody is doing in his own company. It feels very weird what he's trying to do. Like, he's going full too far baby face that he doesn't need to. Does that make sense? Like, so halfway through the match, he takes goes through a ladder, and he gets hauled off by EMTs, and Arn Anderson is there too, and they're hauling him off, and he's like, "No, let me fight, let me come back," and he's trying to get back in the match, and he finally comes back with like 2 minutes left in the match. It's like, yeah, but you're Cody Rhodes. You don't need to do that. Like, you're the dude. Like, you don't need to be the John Cena that gets beat up and brought backstage and then comes back. Like, dude, you're Cody Rhodes. Like,
does he win much? Because it always seems like in a lot of the bigger matches he loses. But I mean, I understand that, because being the owner, you want to put over the rest of your talent, I think, to kind of expand your brand so there are more people to watch. But is he typically, like, maybe I'm wrong because I don't watch a lot of it, but does he typically lose? Is that usually what seems to happen with him? But if he's in a face role, eventually he's gotta win something.
Well, and he's in a face role, but he loses when it's important to lose.
Sure.
That's for sure. So like big example is right at the beginning. He was kind of like AEW launches, and then he's the first number one contender for the AEW title.
Sure.
And he said they ran a full big story that he's going to be, if he loses, that he's never going to wrestle for the AEW world title. And like, so this is like his one and only shot to be the man in his company.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of wrote it off that way. And he ended up losing, and he legitimately has never wrestled for the world title yet, which I think will probably change as Kenny Omega kind of continues to rise, because I think they'll try to, but I think they'll definitely give that a good story. I think Kenny Omega versus Cody at like All Out would be a fantastic story because of the history that they have in that building, because they'll likely do it in Chicago. So I think that would be a really great story. But and then he ended up being the winner of the TNT title, the inaugural, and he used that to get John Huber over, or now I can't remember what his name was in AEW. Brody Lee. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't remember that, but he used that to get Brody Lee over for a little while, and then Brody had to go away because he was sick, and then he really used that as a platform to get Darby Allin over, and Darby's making some serious bank right now. I think he did right by Darby, and Darby got to. I do want to bring up that street fight.
Oh, yeah. That made him a star. Like,
yeah.
The cinematic match with him and Sting against Team Taz made everybody look great. I think it was the best case scenario for all the guys involved. Like, one of my favorite cinematic matches that I've seen so far too. It looked really good. It was a lot of fun. I like that they had like this army of Stings leading them into this abandoned warehouse, and Sting has like half Sting, half Darby makeup too. I'm like, that's an awesome like passing of the torch. Like, this is my guy type of thing. And Team Taz looked like a bunch of monsters.
Oh God, Ricky Starks is a star, man. I love Brian Cage. I've always really liked Brian Cage. I think he's a fantastic professional wrestler. But Ricky Starks, man, if that dude isn't a top tier heel, even if it's not with AEW, if he decides to move on, Ricky Starks is a millionaire in the making in professional wrestling. So oh God, I can't say enough good things of how impressed I am with Ricky Starks. But anyway, we were talking about Darby Allin. I think you're 100% right. Like, Cody made him what he was to that point, and now I think he is one of AEW's handful of mega stars. I think after that match, I think he's gonna. Darby's always been an interesting anomaly to me. I saw Darby wrestle in Minneapolis a few years ago, and I wasn't sure if I got it, if I understood it. And also, it was my first. I wasn't familiar with him. He wrestled the Great Sasuke, so I was like, okay, if you're gonna wrestle the Great Sasuke in front of 1,000 people, you better fucking put Sasuke over. He's a legend in Japan. He flew 25 hours to get here. You were gonna put him over, and Sasuke put him over, which was awesome. So anyway, it was like I wasn't sure I understood him, and even when he got to AEW and he was kind of doing the hardcore stuff, I still didn't know if I understood who Darby Allin was. But then somebody had kind of compared it to like, yeah, but you're an old man now, and I was like, well, that's not nice. But when I was a teenager, when I was a teenager though, the old wrestling fans didn't understand Jeff Hardy. And I think it's a really fair comparison to, like, he is this generation's Jeff Hardy, and he's just happens to be working for AEW.
Yeah, that's why I love that they paired him with Sting, because it kind of feels like this modern version of Sting too. Like I feel Jeff Hardy's kind of an evolution of Sting too, and now Darby's in that same boat of like the lone wolf. Like I'm going to do things kind of my way. I'm the outsider. No one's ever going to give me my shot. I'm going to take my shot type of thing. Yeah, I think he's like you said, he's a star in the making, and this was kind of the cementing, the stamp of that, like him with Sting side by side. Like it wasn't, this is Sting's match, his first match in AEW. Is no, Sting and Darby are teaming up. They're together. They're a team. Like, and there were some great spots, some great moments in this. Like, I love when Sting throws the bat up the stairs and then it comes back like full circle by the end of the match where Darby has the bat upstairs. He's like, Sting! He throws the bat to him and Sting just goes out with the bat. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
and then Darby took a stupid bomb.
Yeah. They fell into a pit that just fell into to nowhere. Like they died. I think they died.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
More murder on TV.
More
guys.
murder. Yeah.
And made all the better with Taz on commentary the whole time.
What the hell is going on here?
Over.
That's what I love about Taz. Like he's a heel, but he'll put everybody over if he likes you. Like he's these are my guys, but he's like, I'm not going to deny it's Sting, and I'm not going to deny that Darby's a talented dude.
Darby Allin.
They're still going to lose. They're still going to lose, Cole.
Yeah. I don't care what you have to say, Cole. He's still gonna lose.
Whoa, what's going on here, Cole? Like every time the camera moved, he said that. He's like, "What's going on? What is this?"
I loved it. I love Sting. Well, and they had like 5 people at the booth at that time too, and just Taz like yelling and just like, "Don't even talk to me, okay, Shivani? Don't even talk to me." So it was, that was fantastic. Did you watch any of the pre-show?
I watched a little bit of it. Yeah.
Okay. There's apparently some really fun stuff happening on Being the Elite. I've been terrible about keeping up with Being the Elite, but I think I might check that out and check back next week or next month when we come in. But they've been incorporating some of the stories with that. I love the Dark Order and Adam Page story that's been going on, that he's not a part of the Dark Order, but the Dark Order wants him to be in their group, so they continue to like try to be his friend like, the whole time. So
that dude, Hangman Page is he needs to be their guy. Like he is he is just a star in the making, like the face of AEW.
Yep.
Like, and I'm hoping maybe that's the next thing Omega goes on to, is him and Hangman. But
I think that's kind of where because Hangman and Kenny were partners there for a while. And they were tag champs, so I think that's if we're gonna talk the evolution of this, I think that's the next logical step, is to put Hangman in that position at Double or Nothing. But I almost want him to wait on it, because like I would love to see Cody and Kenny go at it for the world title in Chicago, but I would also love that story of in Chicago where Hangman Adam Page lost his first opportunity at the world title. He gets it back. And I think that would be just an excellent, I really want, if Adam Page is going to work a world title story, I want him to win it. Like that's where I'm at with Adam Page. I love Cody. I think he would be a great world champion because he's Dusty's kid. For many more reasons, but if they're going to pull the trigger on Adam Page, they got to pull the trigger on Adam Page. It's got to be on the first opportunity.
Yeah. Should we talk about the big reveal of this show? Because I'm really curious where the hell that is going.
You're talking Christian Cage.
Atheist Cage shows up.
Atheist Cage. Agnostic Cage.
Yeah. Catholic Cage shows up,
Catholic
and what he was not the guy I was expecting, But I don't know. I'm always happy to see Christian. I love Christian. I'm a peep for sure. What's he gonna do with AEW? I think he says he's like, I got a lot of gas in the tank, and I think him and Edge think a lot alike in that terms. We can put other younger guys over.
Well, he's been working at the PC.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the other thing is that I was really surprised that he was getting paid at the Performance Center. But
also, why the hell does WWE let him slip through their fingers this time?
Again? You mean
again? And again,
yeah.
and again,
again?
Yeah. I don't know. I was really surprised it was Christian. I was genuinely surprised it was Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I shared this with you. I thought when not Big Show said
no more BS, Charlie.
Yeah, that it was not who you thought it was. I was like, oh man, it would be really cool if they decided to pull the trigger and get Paige over there, and put her smack dab in the middle of the women's division with all because I think Paige would really add some eyes to that women's division that they just don't have right now.
Much needed. Yeah.
Much needed. And
I thought it was going to be. I heard the rumors of Big Show or AEW was filing, a claim for the Captain Insano name. I'm like, that's a joke, right? That's a joke. And then I kept seeing it pop up on other places. I'm like, wait, is this real? Is Big Show just going to rip us all? That's because you clicked on
one clickbait.
I clicked on one, and all the other ones popped up on my Facebook feed. I'm like,
Captain Insano shows no mercy.
He shows no mercy. But I'm like, if Big Show showed up as Captain Insano, I wouldn't have been mad either.
Right.
I'm glad it's Christian.
I am too.
I had heard that it was going to be Kurt Angle. I think he even posted a video that of him putting his gear on or getting his gear ready, something like that. And I was kind of like, oh, well, okay, that would make sense. I think hearing that it was Christian really came as a surprise to me, because the last thing that I had heard is that he was doing, didn't he have a match in WWE just a month or so ago?
It was in the Rumble.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago. And I was like, oh, cool, we're going to get another, one last run. And nope, that's not the case. So I was kind of like, oh, well, I guess he knows something that we don't, and he's probably going to get more opportunity for something. So good for him. Yeah, a little bit of a surprise and a little personal disappointment, but that's just because I don't watch a lot of anything right now, really, to be honest. But just because I don't watch as much AEW, I was like, oh, well, all right, okay, good for him.
Well, and that's I think Christian. I think he's an unspoken he's not talked about highly enough because he's always compared to Edge. But people forget that this guy, he left the company and he was very successful outside of WWE. He doesn't need WWE to be successful.
Right.
And he had a fantastic run in TNA. That was the only time that TNA for a long time was watchable. I
was gonna say, he feels like the reason TNA was oh, this is the next thing that's gonna go up against WWE because they have Christian as their top heel. I'm like, that's awesome. He's the guy leading the company at that point, kind of. Yeah, I think it is time for him to get the recognition he deserves. I have always loved Christian. I mean, we're going to talk about favorite WrestleMania builds. He's in one of mine that I do want to talk about. So,
is it?
Yeah.
Is it? We might have to put I know we wanted to keep this at about an hour and a half this month, so we might even I might have to call an audible on Willy Wonka for us.
That's fine. And this is a better conversation topic.
Yes.
This road to
I forgot about the Willy Wonka topic, so we should probably just push it to the next show.
Yeah.
This guy.
And Andy forgot about it too.
I did.
I know. I've known who I want to cast as Willy Wonka since you said this. So, but I'm gonna save that for April, or maybe even May, because we got Burrito Mania coming up.
You know what? Might as well just hold off until summer. You know what would make a really good Christmas show if we cast Willy Wonka.
That'll be the next time we decide to do this. Yes.
Yeah. December.
Yep. Coming in December, recasting Willy Wonka with professional wrestlers. But yeah, I know we wanted to talk a little, or at least this was what I wanted to talk about, and I could both talk about AEW all day and night because I've enjoyed the hell out of it recently. But we've got WrestleMania coming up, and some of our favorite builds to WrestleMania. So like meaning like even, pre-Rumble WrestleMania, the stories that something culminated at WrestleMania, like one match, one moment culminated at WrestleMania, and all of the stuff in between. So I've got one that I want to start with because I don't think it'll be as flashy as some of the ones that we will probably get brought up. But one of my favorite builds is Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle from WrestleMania 21, starting at the Rumble with Shawn Michaels eliminating Kurt Angle and Angle going back in the match, eliminating Shawn Michaels, and then slapping on the ankle lock. And then you get the whole I'm better than you are, I'm better than you are storyline. And this is also where you got Kurt Angle singing I'm Just a Sexy Kurt, which was gold and still is. But you got I loved that story because Angle was like, anything you did I can do and make it better, and he legitimately made some of the stuff that he did more entertaining. We got to see Marty Jannetty tag with Shawn Michaels one last time. We got to see the return of Sherry, and then just that whole build of them getting to Mania, and then the match itself was such a great match. But everything they did to build up to WrestleMania that year was on Raw and SmackDown was just gold. Promo after, and then Michaels is there and he's the cameraman, and then Sherry Martel's coming out and Angle's putting the ankle lock on Sherry of all things. It was just, they really built Kurt Angle up as that it was a despicable heel, but you knew legitimately tough. And Shawn Michaels is Shawn Michaels. They celebrated his whole career throughout that time. So I think that might be, and that's again for me. There are other ones that have come up where there were cooler angles and different things like that have happened, but that was just straight up wrestling the whole time, and it resulted in it might be my favorite match at a WrestleMania ever. So I'm gonna go ahead and just say I think that one might be my favorite. That might be my favorite build to WrestleMania.
Yeah. That makes me want to go back and watch that because I'm not familiar with anything from that time period. So I think that would be really a really fun kind of watch it from the Rumble on to WrestleMania, watch that build, watch everything that happens, because that sounds so much like my jam that I need to go back and watch that.
Andy, you will love it.
Yeah, I bet.
Because that was what, WrestleMania 21?
21. Yep, because it was the year after he did the triple threat.
Yeah.
Because both those guys were in the title matches at 20.
Yeah, sure. And that 20 was my first Mania, and that was 20, 21, 22 was like my like golden times of watching Monday Night Raw every single night. And 21 I watched in a movie theater. I think we've talked about that before, and that's such an awesome build. The Angle, Shawn Michaels, he'll make your ankle hurt. Sexy Kurt is one of the best moments of Angle's career. Like, again, like you said, it showed off Shawn Michaels' entire career. It also showed off Angle's entire career too, because he's still doing funny Angle stuff during this too, which Kurt is like awesome at. Just being a big goofball, even though he's an Olympic gold medalist and one of the best professional wrestlers of all time, he can still be a goofball singing "Sexy Kurt" So, yeah, again, that's an awesome match too.
Yeah, and before we move on to the next one, I mean, the first promo that Kurt did there was he started with talking about 1996 and how he won a gold medal at the Olympics with a broken neck,
the broken freaking neck.
But I mean, and legitimately, he said the only thing people were talking about it was that how Shawn Michaels came flying from the rafters and wrestled for an hour at WrestleMania. And like, that's like real resentment too. I mean, like, yeah, you work your entire life to get to the Olympics, and all anybody's saying is like, did you see that Iron Man match? Oh yeah, that would piss me off too. I get that. So I mean, yeah, that was the first promo that he did during that, and then he started doing then he did the sexy Kurt, and that's like one of the funniest. That's the funniest shit ever. Still, so. But all right, and let's move on from that. Builds to WrestleMania. Which of you two would like to go next?
You know what? I'll go because I have there's a whole era that I want to talk about, but I'll get to that in a little bit, which nowadays it's a problematic era. But for me growing up, there are so many great memories from that time period. So I'll get to that one. But because you mentioned it, Charlie, I'm going to talk about my build. I don't remember what number the WrestleMania was, but that was the build to Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart in the Iron Man match. That was... I was so hooked. Because they were both good guys at that time. Like they were faces, and you liked both of them for different reasons. And it was so engaging to watch each week because it was like you wanted to cheer for both of them. And kind of the build was like, oh, well, this week I want Bret to win because it's Bret. Like, he's just the best. He's the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. I bought into that. But then at the same time, you've got Shawn Michaels, who at that point had never been the heavy, right? Had he been the heavyweight champion? Yeah, never been the heavyweight champion.
This would have been WrestleMania 11, yeah.
The
boyhood dream has come true. And it was with, Jose Lothario at his side, like his, they build him up to be his mentor, like the guy who got him all the way to the top, trained him and made him this great wrestler. Like, and, he had gone from being the sexy boy, the bad guy, to all of a sudden being like, someone that the people watching could really identify with. As someone who had worked his whole life to try and get to this spot. And now here he was in this position. And what better way to really solve who's the best between these two? Like, Shawn Michaels, naturally energetic. Just he's a scrappy fighter. And then Bret Michaels, Nope.
Bret Michaels was in this match? Was
Bret
it
Michaels
on the Rock bus?
Bret Michaels was doing a lot of wrestling on that bus. Bret Hart.
This blonde into this coke pile. This brunette into this coke pile.
That's what you call a pile driver. Thank you. I'm 40. I'm not a dad, but I can make dad jokes. Bret Hart was like master technician, it was just he was so skilled at what he did. And I think just the build up to get there between watching those two tell their whole story, and then you finally get to the match, and it was like they were so determined that the match had to go into overtime. You're like sitting there the whole time watching, oh my gosh, no one's going to get a pinfall. No one's going to get a pinfall. And your instant thought is like, oh, they ran out the clock. Surely Bret gets to keep the title. No. We have to have a winner. And Shawn won in overtime. And it was both this feeling of like, oh no, Bret's going to be pissed. Yeah. But then you're like, Shawn did it. He won. Yep. So yeah, I just remember, like, I think what year would have that? WrestleMania 11 would have probably been like 95, 96, or is it
That was
even
96,
earlier than
yeah.
that?
That was
Yeah.
96. Yep.
And I'm a teenager at that time, and I'm really just fully invested in wrestling, and I just dug the whole story of it. So yeah, for me, the first one that I'll talk about before I do like 3 of them featuring the same good guy ish is the Shawn Michaels Bret Hart the build up to the Iron Man match. I love it. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. I loved during that time because I actually this was recently. I was doing this thing where I would watch the Rumble, and then I'd watch every Raw, or try to watch every Raw and SmackDown in between, and then get to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But in between there, because Shawn wins the Rumble, he had a match with Owen at their in your house pay-per-view that tore the fucking house down, and it was awesome to see him wrestle Owen and then move on to Bret, and Vince McMahon was in the ring, and Gorilla Monsoon is selling these two as an athlete. Apparently the whole idea of just having an Iron Man match between the two of them was Pat Patterson's idea, which go figure, wrestling genius. So to recognize like, I have this dream match between these two young guys, like, let's make them go for an hour. It's like,
and the other thing too, I forgot to mention this, through most of it, they treated each other with absolute respect. Shawn respected Bret respected Shawn. They were very cordial with each other until it got closer. As it got closer and closer, you could see that tension was mounting, and it was just like, you can't have two good guys just be happy with each other at this opportunity. They gotta explode, and sure enough, they did, and then it led to one hell of a rivalry to the rest of their time there. So
their career,
yeah.
Always be tied together.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Isn't this also like when Shawn was being Shawn and told Bret, like, get the F out of my ring afterwards?
Yeah. You can actually see it happen if you watch that match at the end. He, like, the titles he's on his knees and he looked over and he goes, "Get the fuck out of the ring." And I was like, Jesus.
Oh man.
This is my moment.
See, 15-year-old Andy doesn't remember that part.
Me and my cousin were about he's about 2 or 3 years younger than I am, and we were both like, when we were I was really into wrestling as a kid. He also was at the same time. So like for Christmas, we'd always get the same toys from our grandparents. It would be the exact same toy because we were like brothers. We would fight if we didn't get the exact same toy. But I remember he had a Shawn Michaels action figure with the white trunks from this WrestleMania. And I was so jealous he had that action figure. I'm like, I just got a modern day Shawn Michaels. I want that one for WrestleMania where he, fought Bret in the Iron Man match.
Yeah.
So jealous.
Yeah. Such a great build. Such a great build. You're right, Casey. Like, I want to go back and watch that now.
Yeah.
Casey, who do you got? What do you got for builds?
I'll go with a modern day one. It may be my favorite Taker build in the last few years. I really loved his build with CM Punk. I mean, I'm an unabashed CM Punk fan. He's probably my favorite wrestler of all time. And during this time, I still think he was just the guy with the company. Like, the reason I was watching it at that point, because this is WrestleMania 29. Because this is the Rock Cena 2 at this
I didn't even think about this one.
I think it's the best build of this show. I mean, it starts at the Royal Rumble, where Punk is 434 days into his run as champion, WWE champion. I mean, goddamn, that's over a year, almost a year and a half of being champion. And then The Rock shows up and takes it away from you, which is what it is. But all was to build Rock Cena 2 at Mania. Punk had pitched the triple threat, which never came to fruition. So they kind of gave him Taker, I guess, is the, if you're not going to be in the main event title match, we'll give you Taker this year. So I'm like, that's not a bad trade-off to go up against Taker at Mania. And unfortunately, this is also during the year where Paul Bearer did pass away. And so I mean, I loved that they actually brought that into the storyline, because you're watching this and you're like, F CM Punk, F Paul Heyman. You don't actually diss someone who actually just passed away. You don't steal the urn, Paul Bearer's urn, and mock it. You don't mock the Undertaker with, Paul Bearer's urn. You just don't do that. And, they did it. And I mean, Punk was just, you hated that asshole every week he was on Raw, except me. I was cheering him on the entire
It was
time.
the first time that people were actually booing Punk in a very long time. And they had tried to turn him heel like 6 months earlier. And people would not. Like, it was legitimately the first time that people were like, oh, fuck him.
I forgot how early they tried to turn him, because I rewatched the Rumble and then this Mania within the last month. And it's like, they just do not want to boo this guy. I thought they turned him like right before the Rock match. No, it was a lot, a few months before that. And then
it was before SummerSlam.
Yeah. And I'm like, this guy could you could just not boo this guy. Everybody wanted him to be the guy. And it's like, all right, let's make you boo. You have to boo this guy. There's no way you can cheer this guy. He's going to make fun of, or, mock someone who has just recently passed away. An idol you guys grew up with in Paul Bearer, and someone that was always by Undertaker's side, someone that you always have with him. And I think it's just one of the best Taker builds for a Mania match of Punk, bringing in the Paul Bearer storyline, bringing in, hey, I'm not in the WWE Championship match, but I'm going to end the streak. And for me, watching this, I was watching this with my buddy that night, and he's a uber Taker fan and Paul Bearer, and he's just yelling. We're yelling at the TV this entire match. We couldn't give a shit less about any other match on the card, but this one, he's yelling for Taker, I'm yelling for Punk, and it was just awesome. And I did think it was like, maybe this will be the year. Maybe Punk will, like, this will be the year they give it to someone. And unfortunately, it's the next year with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
But so I guess this is the last this is one of my favorite Taker builds, and I think it's one of the best ones that they've had. Quick shout out to the build with John Cena too. I think that's also a great Taker build.
That was a great one. It wasn't exactly my favorite Taker match of all time. It wasn't even my favorite Cena match of all time.
I loved what they did with that match.
Oh yeah, I was just like, really?
Have to Taker squash Cena. I like it.
Yeah. But
and after watching the last ride, it makes me appreciate that match even more too.
Yeah, and I think Cena did right by Taker, which was awesome. It was also just one of those things. I'm like, Cena gets buried.
Yeah.
Like, be sure about that?
Charlie's still thinking about it.
Yeah, I still do. Every once in a while, I'm like, they did that. They really did that. Okay, like,
I appreciate John doing that, though. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I think him and Taker probably could have tore the house down if they wanted to, like with where Taker was at, and after how he was feeling after the Roman match the year before. But it's like, no, I think that was the right call, having him just do the hits and pin Cena in like 2 minutes.
I mean,
Charlie's gonna wake up in a chorizo sweat tonight, being like, Taker, Cena, chorizo.
It's just gonna be Taker rising above that cup. Rest in chorizo. The one thing that I from the Paul Bearer documentary I want to bring up is from that build with CM Punk, and that was actually, Taker had said this in a way, because I think there were a lot of people who felt that was disrespectful to Paul Bearer when they did the whole urn and dumping the ashes and everything like that, which I was in complete disagreement with. But the one thing that Taker said was like, we weren't dishonoring Percy Pringle the person. We were honoring the character of Paul Bearer, and it was like that's a really good way to put it. And because Percy Pringle and Paul Bearer were very different people, and people forget that. Right. So
just remember, Randy Orton told Rey Mysterio that his best friend is not up in heaven; he's in hell. Like
he did
a month after he died. I'm like,
he did.
That is much worse.
He did do that.
He did do that.
Randy Orton also shit in someone's bag.
He did. Young Randy Orton is an asshole.
Randy Orton is an asshole.
He deserves to get to puke that black ooze.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Not a build-up that'll be on my list.
Really? But one more that I want to bring up. I know we're running a little bit overtime here.
Sure.
Didn't culminate in my favorite WrestleMania match ever. I thought the match there was too much in it. The build up to it was amazing. Was Sting versus Triple H.
Yeah.
Starting at Survivor Series with Sting's debut, doesn't talk, just comes out, helps everybody, the good guys win.
Dolph.
Yeah.
Helps Dolph win. It should have been Dolph's jumping point.
How many jumping points has that poor man had and never landed on him?
This is after Money in the Bank, so this was number 2. So, but I loved that Sting said nothing throughout that whole, and all that happened was Triple H would just mock him, and then Sting would just stand up. And I loved that, and I loved that I was really excited for Sting versus Triple H. The match itself didn't result in what I was hoping. And I really didn't. I'm still a little bit. I mean, it's not quite Cena Taker, but
this is much worse than Cena Taker.
Yeah.
This is Sting. You have your bat. Triple H. I have my shovel.
That was, that should not.
And Sting, here comes the NWO.
Your ultimate rival. Here they are to help you.
And like X-Pac was in both the NWO and DX.
He should have worn a shirt that was like half the DX shirt, half NWO,
and just beat himself up in the corner.
But that was also one of my favorites because I was really excited about that match. But that one, now that Sting's in AEW, I'm really happy for him. But man, I just wish they would have done more with Sting.
Yeah, and AEW actually put him over in his first match in the company, and making him lose to the boss.
Yeah. Well, Tony Khan doesn't need a win, so I mean, maybe he does. He owns the Jaguars.
What Mania was that again? 30, 32? 30,
31.
31.
31.
So that was the Roman Taker. It's like, why didn't we?
No, that was Roman Brock.
Was it?
Yep, that was Roman Brock.
Seth Rollins cashed in.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Who was Taker up against that year?
Bray Wyatt.
I also think the wrong man won in that match, but
both of those guys. What the hell is going on? That was a weird Mania. Should have pulled Bray or Taker to be Sting's first guy, not Triple H. But
what an ending! What an ending with Seth Rollins cashing in at the end of that. I mean, still like I couldn't believe it was happening. It was so good. It was so good. So, anybody have any others that they wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I'll go really quickly, and I'll kind of combine mine since they involve one of the same people. I'm going to go back to my childhood. I was a young wrestling fan in the early to mid to late 80s, which of course means that I was eating my vitamins, I was saying my prayers, I was a young Hulkamaniac. I'm not anymore. But at that time, like the Hulk Hogan stories, the Hulk Hogan builds to WrestleMania. I'm talking specifically about where Andre the Giant, his best friend in the world, turned on him and ripped his shirt and ripped the necklace off of him, the chain, and then that led to their rivalry, their match at WrestleMania 3, which is there's two men in that ring moving around, and one guy lift the other one up at one point. So that happened, and we're gonna keep hearing about it all the time. Anytime Hulk Hogan gets a chance to talk about it, that's what we're going to hear about. But then a couple WrestleManias later, WrestleMania 5 was Mega Powers Explode. That was really cool. The build of that was incredible. You've got these two powers who finally shook hands after 5 hours of.
It's like that scene from Predator, but like on repeat.
It really is. Did you guys ever see the promo where it was the Mega Powers were talking and they like shook hands and walked off camera? Like that's one of my favorite ones. And at one point, somebody had made it with a meme, and it said, "When your acid kicks in." It was, oh my gosh, like still one of my favorite promos because both of them were just so nonsensical. When the stars align, brother, and this,
Coke is a hell of a drug.
Oh yeah, everybody was doing Coke. It was awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, watching, their build up, their friendship to the rivalry because you have lust in your eyes, Hogan. Elizabeth. And then, of course, they exploded, and Macho Man was the champion going into it, and Hogan took the title back, only to lose it the next year at another. No, this build, I don't care about Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. Never mind. Yeah. But the build to Hogan and Andre, and then Hogan and Macho Man, those were just, it made watching whatever wrestling TV that was on USA, even the Sunday morning superstars and primetime wrestling on Monday night. Like it was just, I was hooked. I was hooked as a little kid. And I didn't get to watch a lot of pay-per-views growing up because there's like $60. That's a lot of money for a pay-per-view. And
it's still one of my $50 for an AEW one right now. I'm like,
ridiculous.
Jesus.
Ridiculous.
Like, you're lucky I love wrestling.
Right? But my buddy, he was having a birthday party, and so his mom got WrestleMania 5 with the Mega Powers Explode, so we watched that for the birthday party. Cake, pizza, wrestling. It was great. It was great. So those are my two builds.
You got any more on that, Casey?
I'll quickly rattle mine off. I said I was going to throw out a Christian one. I'll throw out Christian and Chris Jericho because that was one of the first feuds I was getting into when I was starting to watch wrestling. That was my Mega Powers Explode right there. Chris, the Canadian best friends betting $1 Canadian on who would get with either Trish or Lita first. Lita was dropped from that storyline pretty fast. So it was Christian and Chris Jericho at Mania, the best friends, finally going at it head to head and having I think those two have great chemistry, great ability to give great promos and also be very, very funny while doing these heelish things that they're doing. I mean, betting $1 Canadian on who would get laid first is a total heel move. And the match, I super underrated match, I think, at Mania, and has one of, for me, like when they do the WrestleMania, like of the past, like they should have Christian and Trish on the stage together as an image that pops up in that timeline. Because I think, for me, when that happened, it's like, well, Trish, what are you doing? You're supposed to be with Chris Jericho. Come on.
I know. Poor Christian got hurt right after that. Like, he got hurt like a month later, and he was out for like 6 months. That would have been like, this was supposed to be his platform to jump to the world title, and he would have got there before Edge. Like, but it was, stars just didn't align for him.
Because it was him and Trish, and I think this is when Tomko was introduced too. Like, it was after he came back, he would feud with Cena, right?
It was, well, okay, so Cena
a while
won the
after
title
that.
at 21. It was like a year and a half later. Yeah. And he had been hurt for a good part of that time, which sucks. But then they moved him to SmackDown, and he was calling out Cena, and it was awesome. Christian, and then he left shortly thereafter, which was, it was what it was. Like, but I agree. That is probably, I think there's only one match that opened Mania that might be better than Christian versus Chris Jericho, which is Eddie versus Ray from the following year. But that might be a quiet contender for greatest opening matches for WrestleMania. I think it might be tied with that.
They didn't open Mania though. That was Cena and Big Show.
Right? They did. You're right. I was wrong.
I have that WrestleMania 20. I think is memorized in my head just because I've seen it so many millions of times. That's when Cena won the U.S. title from Big Show.
That's right. They did the big face open. Damn.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. I was wrong. But
great match between those two and great build. So that's one of my favorite nostalgia based. I mean, I think it's a great WrestleMania 20, and that's one of my favorite matches from that. And then quickly, I'll throw out my two Daniel Bryans. Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30, beating all members of Evolution in one night and winning the titles. Like, that was how that should have ended, and it gives them a nice reason saying, hey, WrestleMania 20, that main event never happened. It happened at WrestleMania 30.
Yep.
I'm like,
it's
all
really
right,
true.
I'm fine with that then. That's a good retcon of that's what happened.
It needed to be. And I more recently, I really enjoyed Kofi Mania.
That was the last one I was going to bring up. Yep.
Yeah. I genuinely had tears in my eye when Kofi won the title, because it was just like, I wanted him to win that title so long ago, and for him to finally do it at Mania, so good.
At that point, probably the only guy to make the fans boo Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yep. And Daniel Bryan was on top of his game with the eco-friendly world title, which
that
is
belt
still
is still awesome.
I know that's still the old, like I've told myself I will never have a replica title belt, but if that one came around, I might consider it. So,
yep.
But all right, I think we're gonna wrap it up here, guys, and let everybody get some sleep, and we'll see everybody next month. But make sure to follow Backlot 605. This month they are doing Versus Month over with this guy, and for the rest of the month, and then make sure to follow Fat Dude Digs Flicks. We got all kinds of stuff going on for Andy the Fat Dude. We're getting closer and closer to that episode 100. I'm getting excited because we got 9 weeks left.
Yeah. With the Criterion Break or 2 in there, but we're getting closer.
I'm very excited for episode 100, which you will. I am going to be honored to be on. I'm very excited about that. And then make sure to check out Backlot 605's live show at the end of the month. Follow both of these guys on their social media. My name is Charlie Eccles. I am a wrestling ring announcer and commentator. Find me on Twitter and Instagram. Don't go to Facebook anymore. I don't even log into it. I hate Facebook, and I'm not gonna share your shit on Facebook. I'll share it on Twitter. But at Wrestling Voice numeric 1, if you would like to. If you have an inquiry for me, Wrestling Voice Charlie with an IE @gmail.com.
One.
I'm hoping that Andy is fully vaccinated by the end of the month.
Yeah.
Because then I think Andy and Casey, I think you guys got to come over to my place for Mania. We're having tacos. I'm going to keep saying it until everyone comes. We're doing 2 days of Mania. I'm getting all the indie shit. I'm getting everything we can, and I'm eating stupid, and I'm watching wrestling for 2 straight days. It's going to happen. Guys, you got to come over. If for no other reason, I need somebody to get me water because I'm dehydrated.
Charlie, I cannot wait to break out into wrestling and food sweats at your house.
I'm doing it right now. That chorizo breakfast burrito.
Cup of Charlie juice.
A cup of Charlie. That made me sick. All right, and thank you everybody for joining us. Make sure to follow us next month when we decide to go live. Are we supposed to do the Rikishi dance?
Too cool.